Welcome to Two Crows Podcast, Frightening Frauen. We have Tyler and Lee.
Hello.
And our guests, introduce yourselves.
Brianna and Robin.
And I asked Brianna and Robin to be here because they are awesome human beings that do something that I wish was happening in my own life. They are co-parents that do it in an amazing way that I've been watching for a few years now. And I wanted to bring them on to talk about how women can be amazing with each other and not feel the need to just hate each other because they are dating or married to the other person's ex. So, and like I said before we started recording, Lee knew absolutely nothing coming in here.
I know. I thought it was gonna be like a ghost story or something. I really had no idea. And then I was like, "Oh, parenting."
I mean, if we talk about the beginning, it kind of was a ghost story.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, how did? Well, first of all, the first question that I believe that we should always ask guests are, "What are your favorite dinosaurs?"
Ooh. I knew this question was coming too because I listened to like the first episode.
Yep.
I'm not educated in dinosaurs, but I really enjoy my 4-year-old's impression of a pterodactyl.
Perfect.
So that's super fun.
I don't know. I always think of long necks don't play with three horns or whatever that is. That's what I think of. I don't know.
I love Land Before Time.
Yep. That's a classic.
Yes, there's no wrong answers to that question unless you say something that's very far off from being a dinosaur. But yeah, if you guys want to start with like your story and how it started and how you decided that you wanted to have a good relationship and just kind of from the beginning of what happened, I would love to hear.
I guess the beginning is me being married to Justin in like the first thing. I guess Justin and I met when I was like 17 and then we were married at 19. First year of our marriage was deployed to Iraq. So then when we came back was kind of like the downfall of everything. We were back for like a month and I got pregnant with our shared daughter, Lydia. And then he started school and it was a very big thing of we wanted very different things out of life. And I don't think that either of us knew that we wanted such different things when we got married, you know? And then it was, you know, different interests and I was struggling with a lot of things mentally and it put a big damper on our marriage. And I'll be the first to even say that I probably didn't treat him very well. And so then there was just a downfall. And then he met Robin and then we were divorced. And then it was terrible.
It was terrible.
It was very terrible. Yes.
It's funny because so Justin's 7 years older than me. So I was 18 and he was like 25 in college. Mm-hmm. So like I became a stepmom at 18, which is crazy.
Wow.
But I mean, it's been fine now. But at the beginning, when they first got divorced, we did a lot of week on, week off. So like Lydia was with Brianna for a week and then she was with us for a week and it was horrible. It was the worst choice we ever made.
To find a good balance of, because I went from like working 30 hours a week to having to work like 40 hours a week and full time. And then you have a child in school and then we're trying to talk to each other and get things down. And it was terrible. It was, I didn't like that.
And like it was affecting Lydia, like she was sick all the time, like physically sick. But Brianna's upset because she didn't have Lydia, but then Justin was upset on Brianna's weeks because he didn't have Lydia. And like you don't know what's happening half of your kid's life then because you don't see them. So there was just such a disconnect. And I remember the pivotal point. Like it was a very, very specific night. And Brianna hated me. Like,
well, I was to like, she will not have my child in her car. She will not bring her to my house. She will not know where I live. She will not know any of this stuff because you guys were dating before we were even divorced. So I was like, nope, don't like her. I want nothing to do with her. I don't want her raising my child. I didn't want any of this stuff. And it was bad. I was bad. I was terrible.
It's okay. We were all bad. Nothing was good at that point. But I remember I walked into her apartment because Justin had to work or something. And so Justin was like, hey, Robin's dropping her off, but she'll just drop her off and leave. And like, you don't have to talk or anything. And Lydia came in and she was just this little, like, she's just such a spicy kid. And she's like, Mom, Robin and I did this. Mom, Robin and I did this. And I was like, stop. She's gonna yell at me. And somehow Brianna said something about Justin being a horrible communicator. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, no, 110%.
I think I said he's terrible and you can keep him. And you're like, I plan to. And I'm like, on my inside.
But I was like, if you don't want to talk to him, don't talk to him. I was like, here's my phone number. Text me. Like, Justin doesn't know what's happening 95% of the time anyways. Like,
and almost 10 years later, it's still the truth.
It's the same. Like, I'm just the keeper of the schedules. I know where the children are. I know, like, Brianna has shared children with her new husband. I know their schedule. Like, I just know where the kids need to be most of the time. And like, that was the pivotal point when I was like, you hate Justin. Justin doesn't love talking to you sometimes because you guys are so toxic with each other that like, maybe we can just communicate and that will make our life easier. And ever since we made that shift, I really feel like
yes,
it's so different.
I do let our child in her car and she drives her places now. No.
All the time. We're just taxis now.
Well, it was because Robin essentially did all of the transportation. She picked her up from school. She made sure she did her homework. She did all of the stuff because both Justin and I were working. She took on that role. So,
yeah. Oh. So I spent a lot of time with Lydia.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I still do, but like in the early years.
Yeah.
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 And like then so Brianna's miserable because we're week on, week off. Justin's miserable because we're week on, week off. It's not working for Lydia. So I was just like, is there a different schedule that we could do? And this is like, Brianna and I are the communicators now. So I was like, we can figure it out. It can change. Like, I'm not married to this idea, or like, we don't have to set a schedule and that's what it is all the time. Like, I'm flexible, you're flexible. And then we changed the schedule and things got so much easier.
Well, and we went through like, I had seen and this was like really early on, like maybe a couple months after our actual divorce. I had seen I don't know, what are those, what people write things online?
Oh, like a journal entry?
Like a journal thing or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it was about a woman who was divorced and how they decided to throw their custody agreement like out the door, like not follow it. And so I had sent it to Justin and I said, what do you read this and what do you think about this? Because it talked about like child support and how you're always counting and that adds to a bad relationship. And
which was a thing, like Justin and I were both in college when they got divorced. And like both part-time jobs, like we didn't have any money. Well, and here we're like cutting Brianna a check every month.
Well, and I specifically remember him coming to my apartment and handing me a check and going, if I give you this money right now, Brianna, I can't pay my bills. And so it was more of like okay. So we talked about it and we came to the agreement that we don't follow that custody agreement. Why is a judge telling us how to raise our mutual child?
Your judge was very interesting though.
He was good. So we decided to do our own thing. We don't collect money from each other. We make our own schedule. So the week on, week off didn't work for us. So now it's like,
it's so weird now.
It's like every other day.
You just kind of make a schedule of what works and like share calendars and things like that. Yep.
And like really our weekends are every other, probably, kind of.
We're always like, asking each other whose weekends is who.
Yeah, it's like, is this actually our weekend? Yep. I'm not sure. Like we try to line it up mostly with Brianna's other kids when they're here, Lydia's here type of thing. Yep. But like if I have family Christmas,
like this weekend is technically my weekend, but they have something going on, so she gets to go, you know.
And that's how it should be. So growing up, my parents were divorced when I was 5. And they were such sticklers with exactly what the document said that it really was a detriment to us. I remember one time, because the court said this day is their day, and they were insistent that it would be at midnight. Like they would bring us to drop us off at midnight because that was my time now. And it just was horrible for us as children. And I never wanted that for my kids. And just the fighting and the talking about each other in front of the kids. And I've never once talked negatively about my ex-husband in front of my kids. I've said things, but not in front of them.
We've all said them.
We have, yeah.
Today even.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I see your face now, so it's different.
It is. It's very different.
That was another thing though that we shifted is it's not Brianna's time or Justin's time. Yeah. It's Lydia's time. Yep. And where Lydia feels like she needs to be, because Lydia's always been such like a daddy's girl.
Yes.
Even like I think it was a problem for me to be around at the very beginning because she just wanted Justin to herself all the time. And like she really didn't care about Brianna that much. A lot of the time she was like, but I want my dad. So like, when we made that mental shift though to it being Lydia's time and being where she needed to be, like there was times I would text Brianna and be like, I don't know that she's going to want to go home tonight because she's just like snuggling on the couch watching Disney movies type of thing. And Brianna would be like, okay, so can you drop her off in the morning?
Yeah.
Absolutely. No problem. I'll be there really or whatever.
It's really cool you guys can put your egos aside to be able to do what's right, for her. And then that way it's kind of just better for everybody. My son is an adult now, and I tried to do that. Like my son wanted us to be like one big family, and I tried to do that for him, but there was so much competition from the other side. Like I couldn't even tell them like what kind of gifts I was going to get him for his birthday, because they would make sure they got it and then not let me see him until he'd gotten it from them first. And it was awful, and I just tried to do my best from my side, like not talk trash about them and help him navigate stuff. And but it was just shredded my insides for 18 years, basically. And absolutely. It's really cool that you guys basically got through that stage of the shredding and now get to do something better,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know Lee's son now sees it too as an adult, like what happened and how it was different seeing it from his view as a child looking at it, and who was saying bad things and how you see the other person to who wasn't saying bad things now as as an adult, and how maybe the perspective was a little bit different. And yeah. I mean, like you're kind of a family again now.
Yeah, I basically was vindicated. I just had to go through a lot of pain to get there. But I hate that my son went through that. Even though like he understands now, I hate it. Like it should never have been that way for him,
Yeah, definitely.
We do a lot of things now too that people think that it's so fake all the time, which is so funny to me. Because like I would have to put in so much energy to be fake. Like I don't have that kind of time in my life.
No.
But like
we get that so much.
It's almost October, so like Lydia loves Halloween. So we'll all carve pumpkins together. So I'm talking like Brianna, her husband, me, Justin, Lydia, then my 2 kids, and Brianna's other 4 kids. Like we have just hordes of children together all the time.
Yeah, it's
the best. But like we'll do pumpkins together, and then we'll do trick-or-treating together, and Christmas time we do together.
Christmas morning is always done at our house with everybody. So
awesome.
it come to a point, like even before Justin and I were divorced, of I don't want to miss out on that. Well, you should have to miss out on it. Let's just do it together so that you don't have to miss, or, because I don't want to miss it either. We fought about Christmas morning all the time because I want to be there and he wants to be there. So we just do it together.
And like now it's different too, because in the first little bit, it was just Lydia. Like it was just Brianna and it was just me and Justin and Lydia. But now like we've since added so many other kids that like my boys want to be with Lydia on Christmas morning, and they should have that right to be with their sister. Same with Brianna's kids, like, and they all love each other. Like, my boys love Brianna's other kids. Like, it's just so fun.
Yep.
And I like that you don't, like, I've noticed this on Facebook at least, that you don't distinguish them just as like stepkids or like put a title to it, which my step siblings, we were very much like that too. We were siblings and we had been since we were little. But I like that. And I hate when people call them like step kids or half siblings or anything like that.
Like a negative connotation
like
added around it.
Yeah.
She's my stepmom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. It's like we could say bonus mom.
Yeah, we say bonus.
Yeah.
I like
But,
that
like,
term better.
Yeah.
Walking into like kindergarten, and Lydia goes, "These are my moms."
I
And
have
we're
two
like,
moms, and we're like not like
together.
that.
Yes, but no.
I love that.
Because she's a preteen and she thinks it's really funny.
These are my two moms.
These are my two moms.
And goes to a Catholic school. Yeah.
I'm like, Lydia. Yes.
But now I don't think that we try to like talk her out of it. We're just like, yep. They'll eventually find out how, but
I mean, we live in a small enough community that they already know. Oh, this town.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Lee's way over there in California in a bubble, not in our little small town world.
I'm in a magical glittery bubble.
Yeah, you're by the like most expensive area in California too.
Most expensive, most diverse, most tolerant, most like, yeah. And also most homeless.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's so expensive. I almost moved there and my rent was going to go up $6,000 a month to move there.
No way.
Not a chance.
San Francisco is insane.
I'm only here because my doctors are here and at Stanford, and you know, like my son is here, and but he wants to leave too. So at some point we will just migrate together, and we'll move into your driveway. Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I have a surrogate baby that lives in San Francisco.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot you did that. That's another amazing thing you did.
What neat.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. So one thing I did want to say is I do love my son's stepmom. I wish she loved me, but she doesn't know me though. Like all she knows of me is what my ex has said. And I think she's realizing now because our son is 14, that a lot of the things that she had heard, and same with my ex, that a lot of the things he had heard were my son complaining because he wanted to get something out of it. And lately, so my son was supposed to go live with his dad for a year, and I wanted him to do that because his dad's in the military and he's not gotten to see his dad very much. I think in the last 10 years, he's seen his dad about 10 weeks. And this is his last year that he's on shore duty, that before our son is 18. And I really wanted him to go live with him for a year, and things happened and he got sent home after 4 weeks, and it's really tragic. And I'm hoping that halfway through the school year, he can go back down there for the other half. But that takes two to want to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'm just really I personally lowered child support and changed our custody agreement is technically that he has 30% custody of one of the kids and 10% of the other one. But he never followed it because he never actually saw him during those times. And so usually the times he can see him is the time that isn't a break. And so he's allowed to come up here anytime, or if we can make it work for a certain amount of time for my son to go down there. But our other son is in a residential home and has a lot of expenses, which the child support barely covers any of that, which is why he agreed to that amount, was half of the expense of that son being there. So it's just automatically coming out of his check so that we can pay for that. And it's been freeing to not feel like I need that except for that this is a shared responsibility and like we're both taking care of it and it's easier for me to just pay it. But it's not really child support because it's going towards our fees for the county for his care. But I wish that I had that relationship with his stepmom. I really do. And I tried.
Yeah. Which sucks because when you really put your heart into it and it's not received very well is discouraging for sure.
And I think if we lived near each other, it would be easier for me to make that connection. But they live in Texas and we live in Minnesota. So the distance is a big thing. And she also, English is her second language. And so there's a language barrier as well. She's from the Philippines. And she, from what I hear, is an amazing cook. And I'd love to try it sometime. But I'm glad, even though we don't have a relationship, I'm glad my son has a good relationship with her and that I feel safe with having him there and with her. And like, I don't have any bitter feelings towards her and I never did. I just wish she didn't have them towards me.
And that is I remember like one of the first times Lydia, and she was like 3, 4, and she goes, I want to buy Robin flowers because I love her. And it was the first time she'd ever said anything like that. And my first instinct that I would have done on the outside would have been like, she's not your mom. I'm your mom. But I didn't. I said, okay, well, let's go get her flowers then. And you can tell her you love her. And I think I texted you when you were at home and we brought you flowers.
And I have a picture of little Lydia outside my apartment, like with her flowers. She's so freaking proud. She's like, my mom and I, we bought flowers for you.
And I honestly, I'm sure even at that age, Lydia was expecting me to be bitter and that's not your mom, I'm your mom. But I never tried to make her feel that way ever. Because I grew up with my dad dating women and my mom feeling bad about it. And so I was like, I don't want to perpetuate that cycle. I do not want my child to feel how I felt. So
and
we did it.
It's like even branched out now. Like my parents love chatting with Brianna's mom. Like they love Brianna's mom. So like it's branched out so much further than just us because I feel like your parents were even a little like
standoffish a little bit.
Yeah, like they really questioned, is this gonna work? Really, you guys like talking together and stuff like that, that's gonna work for you?
Everybody always thinks the sky is gonna fall, that we're gonna find like a reason.
Oh my god, they're in the same room.
Yeah.
Like we walk into the cafeteria for like open house at Lydia's old school, and everybody would like look at us and they'd be like, you know Brianna's here, right? I was like, yeah, I know. We have a kid. Like, we're going to open house like the rest of you.
Or like you would fill out all the school stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like she would do all the paperwork for the school stuff, and then people would like come to me and ask me questions. I'm like, I don't know. Robin filled it out.
I even still do it. And they're like, well, did you have permission to do this?
What was the one? There wasn't I don't remember what it was. There was something where she just got like grilled and they had to like ask me. And I'm like, well, she is her mom too. She lives with her, you know? I don't know. It's like mental health. I had to literally sign something over saying that they could discuss it with Robin. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, of course.
It was when she started
therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. They like brought Justin and Brianna into this little room and were like, you need to sign permission for Robin to like bring her to
make an appointment. Yeah.
I was like, I'm the scheduler. You think Brianna's gonna do that? No, she's not.
Exactly.
She doesn't know where Lydia's at.
Half the time I didn't. Safe.
I was just thinking that there's this sort of like cultural expectation of animosity, and I wonder like how many people just follow through with that role without realizing that they don't have to like hate the other person. You know, they probably have more in common than they realize, you know, and it's just
until you switch your mentality too, like you don't realize how much that hatred like weighs on you. Like it's so freeing to not be afraid to text Brianna or be like, I don't know, is she gonna yell at me today? We'll find out. Like it's just, I mean,
I got that out of the way this morning.
It was something totally silly, but I was like,
I snapped at her.
She's mad about something, and it's fine. I just said, okay. And then she texted me later, Sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you. I was like, it's fine. It's totally
You were
fine.
also not feeling well this morning either.
No,
Right.
no. So I've been stressed, and Robin was trying to help, and I'm like, it's not helpful though. But
But like once you change your mindset about things, it's so liberating.
it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been in so many different situations. I think when you did Mary Kay, she had a Mary Kay party and she invited me to it, and I was like, well, hell yeah, I'll be there, you know. And we all had to stand up and introduce how we knew Robin because she was the host. And so I stand up and I'm like, oh, she's married to my ex-husband, and everybody did the like
That's the worst thing.
Literally just like and then they would just look back and forth at us the entire time, and I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I didn't think it was a big of a deal, but apparently everybody was like, oh, an ex-wife and a wife in the same room, oh my, you know.
Yeah
yeah
like we live our lives together, guys.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Or the time that we got invited to that party in Slayton, and we had to drive 45 minutes, and I was like, you know what, we got to ditch the kid and we got to go to the same party, so why don't we just go together? And we like tootle up to this party together, and they're like,
who was your mother-in-law? Like my ex-mother-in-law, her mother-in-law, and then we show up together and everybody's like super uncomfortable with us,
and we're like, this is life. You invited us to the same party.
Yeah, right.
Like,
we came together.
Why would we drive two cars? That's stupid.
I kind of went through that before I realized what was happening on the side that I couldn't see of my ex when they were remarried and everything, because I would go out, like they were in a band together, and I would go like I photographed their wedding when they got married, and you know, in my mind I was like, oh, we're gonna like have this dynamic and it's gonna be good for, you know, and I didn't know that there was this bad stuff happening. They were basically talking about me, and you know, it was interesting though, going into these social situations that, like, especially at the wedding, people are like, you're photographing, how, that's so weird. And I was just like, I don't want to be married to them. I like, you know, I take good photos and I don't have to buy them a gift now. So there you go.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it, you know, it was fun. And I got to see my son in a little suit. I didn't want to miss out on getting to see that stuff too. So I got to be there for that. And, you know, even after things kind of like got bad, I would still put that priority forward and like go to like social events with them and stuff, because I still wanted to have that experience with my son and just be like, you know, whatever. But there were a few times I like walked in and the whole room just got quiet. And it was because they had been like telling them things about me, you know, and then like the people would start talking to me and realize I wasn't like the person. They made me sound like a troll or something. I have no idea. Yeah. And then they would be like, oh, you're like really cool. And I'm like, okay. You know,
like someone tell you differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you probably shouldn't tell me and I'll be mad for a week. So.
Right.
I feel like Brianna had the same situation though, because Justin and I got married not very long after they got divorced, to be honest. But we were like talking about the dress that Lydia was gonna wear and how she wanted to do her hair and whatever. And Brianna's like, well, like, I don't want to miss that. And we had already invited her to our wedding. Like, she had an invite and everything. And I feel like you were kind of teetering on the edge, but you're like, no, I want to see Lydia walk down the aisle as a flower girl type of thing. And so Brianna was at our wedding. It was literally no big deal for me.
It was awkward, but you know, it was, you really have to put yourself in that, you know, I am not married to him anymore. That ship sailed. We're better off friends than we ever were husband and wife. Like, you know, our relationship started as friends. I'd like to end the relationship as friends. But there is that little part in you of, well, I remember when I married him and how I felt when I married him and everything, and to watch them get married. I think it was also really like cathartic for me too, of he's moved on. I'm very happy for them. I'm glad that he did find somebody that was better suited for him than I was, because I wasn't very good to him either, you know. But it was nice to see how much they loved Lydia and included Lydia in all that. And Lydia has always been number one for all of us. So it was nice to see that part, you know. But it was a little awkward because I'm sure it was awkward for you to get married in front of the ex-wife.
Oh, I didn't even think about it because I was so nervous about saying my vows correctly that I was like, Like,
Yeah.
just, I don't know.
It's better when you mess up the vows, though.
Yeah.
God.
Your waffle wedded husband.
I messed him up at our rehearsal, so that's why, like, literally before we got married, I was sitting on the floor with a puke bucket because I was like, I don't think I can do this. It's not that I don't want to marry him, it's that I don't think I can stand up in front of everybody. It was horrible. I will never get married again. That was awful.
The most awkward for me in that situation, like all of it was fine except for their first dance, like was a song from our early relationship. And it was like, I was like, that was the only thing. I just went, I feel really weird right now. And I'm not even exactly sure what it is that I'm feeling, you know? And that was it. Like, I didn't get mad or anything. I just was like, this is weird and awkward. But I realized that nobody else no one else knew. So it was just my experience.
Yeah.
That's weird of them. I mean, music is really sentimental to me. So like, that's a really weird thing.
There were like a lot of like my ex would have her wear like my old clothing, and there was a lot of weird stuff like that in the beginning. And I actually talked with her and was like, no, you need to put your foot down and be like, if you're going to be with me, you need to be with me, not like some idea where you're trying to recreate the relationship from before, and helped her like be more assertive. That was always like, even after they had their own kids, she would come to me and be like, oh, I'm really frustrated with this. And I'd be like, just put your foot down, set the boundaries. We didn't know that the ex was a narcissist. So like we were both trying to navigate this kind of crazy making, you know?
Oh, so the ex was wanting to, sorry, your ex's ex was trying to wear your clothes.
Yeah, because my ex was pushing her to do so.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. And at first she was younger than us, and we were really, I was 21 when my son was born. So she was like, by that point, she was like 19 or so. So she was really young and still like developing her own self. And I was just like, just say no. And if they don't like it, you don't have to stay. Like, go be with somebody that, like, you know, that's why I left, is because I felt invisible. And so, you know, I didn't stay very long because I was just like, nope. And yeah.
I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's hard to leave, even when it is uncomfortable or you know that it's toxic or abusive. It's still like really hard to leave, and you end up staying the longest in really toxic situations because it gets harder and harder to leave. And you're like, well, I've been through so much already with this person. Why not try a little bit
especially
longer?
with the kid, right? Like, because I was like, what? I had a terrible experience as a kid having like multiple families. And I literally, when I found out I was pregnant, I wrote down, I have a journal where I still have the notes where I was like, these are the things that are priority. One of them is that no matter what our family structure is like, he always feels like he's part of a family. Like, he's not going to be like alienated or treated as other than. And my ex did exactly all the things that I asked them not to do. And so like when they had their own kids together, my son basically got treated as less than. Like, all of a sudden, this, you know, his stepmom was like ignoring him and only focusing on her kids. And, you know, even now as an adult, like the other kids are like 15 and 13, and they get like priority on whatever's going on. And my son is just like, has so much resentment. And I know what that feels like, because I went through that with, I was an adopted stepchild. So, and I got treated accordingly, and I just did not want that. So, you know, I get so mad at her. I'm like, you promised me. But, you know, I did my best to build my own thing for him. So, and he said that did help him a lot over the years.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad he had you. And I wish that he had his other parent to show the love and show the support in the way that your son needed. Even now as an adult, I feel like it could still be repaired, but I don't think they will, knowing what I know about that person. But but there's always hope.
Yeah. Although you gotta wonder at some point, do you like just decide to let that hope go, because sometimes the hope hurts more than just accepting like reality. And then you can be pleasantly surprised if a decade down the road, like, they come back.
I've never had a good relationship with my stepmom, and I know that I never will. And I did have to get rid of that hope. I had a little bit of hope after I turned 18, and she didn't feel like she was supporting me anymore. And when I was 19 and had Liam, I called her grandma like for the kids, and she got really excited one day. And then like a month later, we've never talked since.
Oof. Wow.
And my dad and I get along really well, but my stepmom and I she doesn't acknowledge my kids as grandkids. She doesn't acknowledge me or my brother as her children. And it's been really sad. But my dad does, but I don't know how he put up with living like with a partner like that towards his kids. Like,
right.
That's one thing that always like gets me fired up is when people are like, "Oh, so like, how many kids do you have?" And I'll say, "Lydia's 12, and Luca's 4, and Lynx is 2," and they're like, "Oh, there's a big age gap." I'm like, "Yeah, Lydia's like my stepdaughter, but she's my kid, whatever." "Oh, so you only really have 2 kids?" No,
that.
No. I actually have 3. Like, I dress 3, I feed 3, like I raised 3 children.
And Lydia's been there longer. Like, it wasn't like you brought the other 2 in and Lydia was already older. It was Lydia was there and watched the family grow and was there with the family while the family grew.
Yeah. The act of parenting is parenting, period. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And even like when we had Luca, so I remember being in the hospital and we had him at like 9 at night, and Lydia, we called her right away, and Brianna like made sure that she knew that her brother was born, and she wanted to come right then at like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. And Brianna's like, "No, we'll go right away in the morning." So she came at like 7 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Then she's like, "Mom, can we go back at lunchtime?" So she came back at lunchtime, and then she came back after school, and then I think they went to supper, and then she came back again.
Well, I mean, like imagine having a newborn with your husband, and then there's the ex-wife.
Yeah, so
hanging out
over and over and over again.
Well, and it's hard too, because I understand that those are intimate moments. Like that is an intimate moment between you and your husband. I don't want to ruin it by being the
But it happened when you had Eden too. You had Eden at home, and then Lydia was at our house, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go meet Eden." She's like, fresh.
But you guys always too, after I had a surrogate baby, they always brought Lydia to the hospital too, because she needed to see the ending to the story as well. So I mean, I think there was one time you weren't there, and Justin hung out in the hospital room with me for 20-30 minutes after I had given birth. And well, they weren't married.
There was one surrogate baby where we didn't know if your mom was going to make it in time. I was like, "Just call me. Like, we'll go to the hospital." And so I'm like figuring out plans for Lydia so that I can go with Brianna to have a baby. And people are like, "That's so weird." I was like, "No, because that's how I can support her and this relationship." Like, okay.
That's the best kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, it's not taking anything away from my life. It's just adding so much more. Like, I've met the dads to her surrogate babies, and I've taken their family pictures and stuff in the park, and like I got to be a part of things that I never would have been a part of in like other relationships.
You embraced love basically, to sound super cheesy. Like that's what you chose. Like, it's awesome.
Definitely.
There's always been a lot of that. We like the shock factor.
Yeah, no, that's
our favorite thing. Like, we literally sometimes put ourselves in those positions just for that shock factor of
we're just changing the norm here. It's really what we're out for.
Yep.
I know this is a little different, but a couple of my really good friends I met from partners cheating on me with them. And putting that aside, like the feeling is very similar though. Yeah. And putting that aside and being like, well, it wasn't her. She didn't know. She had no idea. And there must be something he saw in her.
I email with the wife of the man who made me the other woman. Like, I told her what happened, and then we stayed in contact, and we talk about books and our kids, and it's cool. it was healing for me because it was such a traumatic experience to be lied to in that way. And I know that it was for her too. So to be able to like kind of find a human connection, that is, I think, really cool.
I agree. And yeah, it was really healing because we both had the same feelings. We both had the same person that we could be upset about because they're the one who made that decision and hurt both of us. And it was really healing. I feel like having animosity towards that other woman, whether it's after you're not together or you're cheated on with that person, it really only hurts you and anyone else involved in it, but like it hurts you the most, and you're holding on to those feelings and saying those words under your breath and having those reactions, like full body reactions to anything to do with that person, and it's just not healthy and it's not good. So
Plus, it's weird to blame somebody who didn't do anything. Like they just happened to be duped as well. And, it's like blame the person who did the bad.
Exactly. Beat him
Going
up.
back to that feeling of like, I don't know. I'll frequently tell Brianna like things that Justin does that are super irritating. She'll be like, "Yeah, I know. I was married to him. I know how he is." We were on that level all the time. My car that he did not get fixed, but it's fine.
Brianna, are you like that? Do you have a good relationship with your husband's ex?
We're working on it. Absolutely. I'm trying to be they have a bad connection when it comes to communicating because they're the bad person in each story. And so like Trish trying to communicate something simple turns into a fight, whereas I can communicate with her because she's not the villain in my story and I'm not the villain in her stories. So we have that relationship has gone a lot better now, I think, than it has. So we're making progress on it.
I feel like it's different if you have 3 kids and we only had 1 to balance. And
That's true.
Yours are older than what Lydia was at that point. So like Lydia didn't have any activities. She went to preschool. Like that was the only thing you had to balance at the very beginning. But you've got a 5th grader who were all over. Like you got basketball and baseball and after school sports and who's picking him up and getting him wherever.
It's really funny because I have turned into the role you had with Lydia in the beginning now with my stepchildren, so I'm the one that gets them to their appointments and I'm the one that picks them up from school and I'm the one that does all this stuff where I didn't do that with my own child, but I do that with stepchildren. So it's all come full circle for me where I'm like, wow, did I ever do this to you as the biological mom?
You've literally texted me did I do this?
I've apologized for things because I'm like, it really, honestly, if I came off like this, that's not who I want to be. So I learned on the other side now.
It's all full circle.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that another big part of healing is seeing other people do the same things you did and realizing it too, because I definitely wasn't the best person, and a lot of it had to do going through my divorce, and a lot of it had to do with pain that I was going through. It was a very abusive relationship and it continued to be abusive after we weren't together. And I was trying to find my voice, but in trying to find my voice I became kind of mean and not just assertive. And so that carried over into some other relationships too, and I didn't really have the best examples in my life, obviously. So I just had to kind of figure it out as I went and what felt good and didn't feel good. And being autistic on top of that, I'm sure had another level of trying to navigate my own brain and what's real and what isn't real and what's a feeling and what's cognitive behavioral therapy helped me a ton with figuring out what is rational and what is not. But I definitely wasn't the best person all the time, and then seeing that in an ex of someone I was dating and then realizing what I had done before too and treating people that way definitely was healing for me. And I wasn't as angry at them because I understood why they were doing it and could relate to what they were doing, and then kind of harness a better situation and better relationship through understanding and being able to communicate that to them. Didn't always work, but
We can all be perfect.
No, I'm far from perfect.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to admit it, though.
You do. You have to admit your faults and be like, yep, I really screwed that one up, and be able to communicate. Communicate is like the biggest thing.
Literally, people ask us all the time, how do you do it?
Communicate.
You just have to communicate and over communicate.
Every relationship.
Yeah, you have to be flexible. You have to let them know, hey, I'm not feeling well. Can you have Lydia for another night or whatever? Because that happens. Or now we're navigating, okay, well, I've got a sick kid in my home, but I don't want your kids to get sick. So what do you want to do about it? Should we come up with a plan? Even through COVID that was a big thing.
Time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I didn't want something that was in my house to go to Brianna's kids to go to their mom's house.
Yep.
So it's like, we are no longer just thinking about ourselves and our kids and our household, but we're thinking about all of these other households that are now connected to us. And like, your kids went to daycare before my kids went to daycare. Right. So like, there was also that added thing. So much of it is just don't be selfish. Like,
right.
Just think about the whole picture.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you live near each other?
I used to live closer.
Yeah. So we've lived, like, I was in town. You were in Ghent for a little bit.
Yep.
So like 10 miles. And then you were closer because you were in Lynn.
I was in Lynn.
So we were like 3 miles apart. But right now we're like 15 or 20.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because when Brianna had Eden, her youngest, you couldn't find daycare for Eden.
Nope.
And I was staying home. So Luca's 4, Eden's right in the middle, and I was pregnant with Lynx.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I'll just take her. Like, I grew up in an in-home daycare. I'm literally licensed under my mom to do daycare. Like, I'll just take her. And you were going to get like something stupid, like a 2-week maternity leave.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
Brand new itty bitty baby. And I had Eden for a couple months for sure. Yeah.
6 months.
6 months. So like,
until you got too big and you're like, I can't do it anymore.
I can't do it.
Fair enough. I completely understand.
Yeah. But then like this last summer, just like a couple weeks ago, my daycare lady had a baby and was off for 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my 2 boys. Brianna's like, drop them off. Like, so we're close enough that like we drove the 20 minutes out here, dumped the kids off, went to work and came back and got them. And it's always so interesting because like Ryan's kids, Brianna's kids are like asking when my kids are going to come. So like I have one upstairs just hanging out.
Well, and then I was in a pickle with getting Eden to daycare. So my ex-husband had to drop Eden off at daycare. So then I have to text my daycare lady that my ex-husband is dropping off my child. And it's just like a whole thing, But everybody rolls with it.
Or like there was a day that Jax needed to be picked up from school. And I was like, I can't, but Justin can. I'll just send Justin to go get him.
So he picks up my stepson to bring to his mom at my house. It was the whole thing, but most people just go with it. We had fun. We figured it out.
Yes, there is an adult coming to get the child.
Yes. A safe adult.
A safe adult, yes.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm going to sign my life away at daycare too so that like Brianna and Ryan can pick up my boys because it just happens sometimes when
it does, absolutely.
When like the stars don't align, we miss something because we do that. I'm like, actually, there is something going on this day I forgot about.
Because we have 7 kids going in like 7 different directions all the time, so
just to have the support is really awesome. Like I did all that because with my son it was just us and I don't have like family support or anything. So my ex did, they did have family support. So when my son was with them, they could be like, oh, grandma can watch him or whatever. But I always kind of like daydreamed about having like, having that support and just because I'd see how nice it was when other people had it. But I think it's awesome. It's like, it makes me think of like, just how like culturally we've become so like isolated from like each other, our families and all this stuff. And this is, this thing that's happened like the last 100 years. And before that, people tended to work more together, like families were more connected and neighborhoods were more, connected, probably not everywhere, but just generally more so. And so there's a little bit more of a village effect, that whole it takes a village. And you guys should like teach people.
People say that all the time. This is the closest we're getting.
Yeah. Write a book.
Yeah, right.
We always say, like, it's really not that hard as long as you all want it.
Yes.
Like, if you're all willing to do it and to communicate and be in the group texts. I know Ryan hates the group text sometimes, but
I can see Ryan hating the group text.
Well, I don't know. He's just so, we'll figure it out, and it's like, no, sometimes you can't figure it out, but it's, yeah.
I'm also known to like send out a whole calendar and be like, this day we have this and this day we have this. And that's overwhelming sometimes, but I like to be able to look back and be
so
like,
do I.
I actually did tell you that.
And I think that we do it all the time. It's in the text. It's in the text.
We need like a shared calendar, I feel like.
Yeah.
Now that we've got.
Can you share it with that many people?
Yeah, Google Calendar, you can do lots of stuff with it.
I need to do that too, because my kids are now 16, 14, 11, and 10. There's so many calendars, so many things going on, and most of them can get to where they need to go after school because it's usually like at the school or right next to it. But I want to know where they are, know they're not murdered. So
exactly. Yeah.
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 And then of course, like they've all lost devices because they use them not the way they should be, not in like horrible things, but like too much. Yeah. So like screen time for me, they have to earn it and they only get a certain amount. And they break things. I don't want a bunch of broken phones. So I have one phone that they share.
I'm really glad that I did the raising of a child before screens were commonplace. Like, like he had to learn how to entertain himself without that. And he's a total nerd. He's like a big gamer. He plays D&D, like, and enjoys this technology. But as a kid, like that just wasn't, it wasn't there. And I'm really glad because as soon as you started seeing kids I was like, oh, I would be the parent that would be like, nope.
That's us.
Yeah.
She has a phone, but we control everything and it's great.
But we have differences on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like in my home, I take her phone away at nighttime during the school year, whereas they don't at her house. So she does have certain things where like I'm more strict or they're more strict about something. And I mean, we have differences. We don't agree on everything. So,
and that's okay. Like both of those things are not wrong and it's okay for it to be different.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And honestly, Lydia learns from that. Like, to learn Brianna's views and our views, and then she can kind of make her own. And I feel like we're pretty good at letting her like form her own opinions on things.
Yep.
I think that's how Brianna and I met, was us having a disagreement.
I think so. But a respectful disagreement.
Exactly. And it was nice.
Well, we know we're never going to agree on certain things. Like we've had a few scuffles about certain things. But
and sometimes we just have to set it aside though. We're like, we don't agree. We can talk about this later, possibly. But like,
or does it matter? Doesn't matter if we agree. That's another thing. It's okay to not agree on everything.
Right. Well, and to have Justin, who's so laid back on everything and he doesn't like to ruffle feathers. So in those moments, he won't tell you, well, maybe he tells you how he feels about it, but he won't tell me actually how he feels about it. He just knows he doesn't want to fight with me. So then it's.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because like last weekend we had plans and he dropped Lydia off at your house. And I was like, we have plans. He's like, well, I didn't want to fight. I was like, what, was it going to be a fight? Or did you honestly just like not have the conversation? I don't know. Like, I just dropped her off. Thought she wanted to go to her mom, so it's fine. I was like,
well, I made a point, and then he went with it so that he didn't like argue with me. And I was so, if Robin and I had had the conversation, I think she probably would have been with you because we would have been different. But there's been times where like I forgot, like when I forgot Justin's birthday, and she's like, well, it would be nice for him to have his child. And I'm like, I forgot. I will take her to you right now.
She's like, I'll deliver her right now. Like, I'm coming. I'm in the car. I'm like, no. It's all good. It's fine. It's his 35th birthday. He doesn't care. Like,
halfway to 70. No.
Yeah, right.
He's like, I'd rather not have cake and ice cream.
But yeah, he won't fight with me. He will.
He just puts his tail between his legs.
He'll roll over. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nice, but also at the same time frustrating because you don't know what he actually feels.
Yeah. For her.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Just say what you want.
Yeah.
I was like, you knew we had plans. Oh, yeah, I guess I did know. I was like,
did you share that
Did you share
information?
that?
Yeah.
Did you tell her we had plans? Well, no. It'll be fine then.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
That's funny. I'm glad. So my ex-husband and I recently in the last year have like mended a lot of things, and we are now, I wouldn't call us friends, but like friendsly. And to the point where we would be able to go to a wedding together and both be there and not, he talks way too much though. I would not want to stand next to him, but but we could be at, like, if Liam ever did get married, we could be at the wedding together and like it wouldn't be this huge fight. His dad's side of the family, on the other hand, I don't know about, but his mom's side of the family and I have gotten along the whole time. Like, she actually was talking to me and we were friends when she wasn't talking to him. So and she's always come and like visited Logan. So he's in a residential like home where he's just the only resident with 2 staff, and she'll fly up there and visit him. And she's grandma, and I wanted her to always be in his life. And even though my ex hasn't seen him in, gosh, 8 years, 9 years now, but his mom comes and sees our son. So it's definitely an interesting situation, but
I feel like everybody sets like 18 as like you only have to deal with each other till she's 18. And I'm like, you don't think she's going to have things after that? Like,
right.
Lots of more things.
Yeah. You're not going to catch me missing her college graduation or her wedding.
Having a baby or grandkids' birthday parties. And
yeah.
Oh, we do all of that together now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was so exhausting to be like, oh, well, Lydia has to go with Brianna so that she can have her birthday party. And then we'll get her birthday party next weekend. But then she's over her birthday party for next weekend because she already had one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you don't want to miss that. Let's just do it together. So I feel like even your brother probably thought it was weird at first.
Yeah.
That first birthday party where he was like,
this is awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
everybody's
used to it now.
Everybody's used to it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
and they just walk in and it's normal.
I would have wanted that as a kid. Having both of my parents there would have been so nice. Ugh.
Robin can't relate because her parents have been married the whole time.
Which is so interesting as far as like getting married, because Justin has parents who are divorced. And I'm like, I have a mom and a dad and a brother, and we lived in the same house my whole 18 years growing up. I still go home to the same house with my same parents with the same decorations. Like, it's just so different to even work through that in like your marriage.
Yeah.
I literally cannot fathom that kind of stability. I'm friends with my ex-mother-in-law, and I was at her house the other day and was just thinking about the fact that she's lived in that house with it basically laid out mostly the same the entire time that like I've known her since I was 18 or something. And I've just never, even growing up, I never lived anywhere like long enough, or, you know, it's so fascinating to me because I can't imagine like how would I feel on the inside if I had experienced this kind of like stability. I literally don't look for it. I don't expect it. It's fascinating because
we have the same thing. Like, we go to my grandparents for Christmas and stuff like that. And my grandparents have been married 55 years and they've lived in the same house for all 55 years. And like, my mom can be like, this is where my bedroom was. And like, everything's the same. And for me, it's so like nostalgic to go to grandma and grandpa's. And like kind of doesn't understand it because he didn't have that specific experience growing up. I was like, that's what I want for my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what everybody wants for their kids. And like, it just doesn't work all the time, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's just interesting.
It is.
Yeah. I'm really glad that my son gets a taste of that through his, my ex's family, and the fact that they have like this family structure and that stability. I think that he kind of got a taste of like my more like wandering lifestyle and bouncing around and stuff, and then also gets to see like his grandparents were together until his grandpa died, and they got together when they were really young and had a good relationship. And so I'm glad for that.
Yeah. I'm in the weird phase of we finally were stable and now I want to travel with them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So our bus is now being like restructured for more comfort after we lived in it for almost a year.
Yep.
So because now we know what we wanted to change. So we took the walls out and we're like putting the walls in where we want them now. But we have a home base, we have a home, but we want to be able to travel and see the US and be able to do the things most people can't anymore because of the cost of traveling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your kids will learn so much from that too. Like you can just expose them to so many more things traveling.
Yeah. We went to
Like
10 states.
Mm-hmm.
So we do it
because she goes with her grandpa every summer, and like my family will go, and we don't necessarily go all the time, but she gets to, and
That's
she's
good.
like a sponge that gets those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cool. I hope that they all remember it.
Right. I bet they do.
They will.
Yeah.
They don't remember going to Disneyland. So I'm like, that was expensive. Remember?
Lydia better remember Disneyland.
Yeah, right.
She's gone to Florida now twice. She's planning her third trip to go dance at the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Exciting.
Yeah. So she does all the things.
She doesn't miss out.
No. She's not neglected. Promise.
No, I can tell that. Oh, I love that. Let me see if I had any other questions we didn't go over.
One of the things that I think is really interesting for us is like Lydia doesn't call me mom really, but it wasn't that she wasn't allowed to call me mom.
Right.
Like she'll call me mom now because her brothers will call me Robin, and she's like, you can't call your mom that. Mm-hmm. So she'll yell at the boys about it, but I don't know. Same with like my parents. She doesn't always call grandma and grandpa, but like if she's trying to get something out of it, she usually does. Grandma
calls them by their first name, but I think it's just because that's how she was introduced as that. And then she did come home and say, Robin and I had a conversation about calling her mom. And I said, okay. She's like, well, can I call her mom? And I said, yeah. She's like, but I have a mom. And I'm like, yeah, you. Doesn't take anything away from me for you to call her mom.
Right.
So she does every once in a while, but I think it helped having other siblings.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when my little sister, she's a half sister with my stepmom, started calling my stepmom Sandy because my brother and I.
Oh, yeah.
And she got so mad. And I'm like, well, you don't want us to call you mom. So
yeah, right.
I also remember being really mad at my stepmom and teaching my little sister some cuss words. She's 10 years younger than me. So I think I was like, I think I was like 12 or 13.
Sounds like something Lydia would do.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like, say the F word. Come on, say it.
But don't tell her that I taught you.
I didn't even care if she did. I was very angsty at that.
Fair enough.
That's funny.
My little brother, I think, had a harder time with it than I did. Like he really wanted my stepmom to like him, and it never like. I think she was more distant from him than me, and she really didn't like me because I looked a lot like my mom. And then her daughter looked a lot like me. And I was like, see, It's my dad I look like, not my
Yep.
We have the opposite where my boys just want Brianna to really love them.
You're good for me. Yeah.
Right. Dropped them off and I was like, they're naughty today. Best of luck. And Brianna's like, no, they're perfect.
Well, do you understand me? Yes. As long as you understand me.
As long as you know.
That's so funny.
Lydia does get called Junior. She has been called Justin Jr., and I'm pretty sure she's been called Brianna Jr. at your house. So we get it.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, I'm like, you really look like your dad right now, and I just need you to walk away.
I feel like we've been very lucky though with Lydia because she doesn't try to manipulate households.
She did.
That's good.
In the beginning, yeah.
And I'm like, well, let me just call Robin up and we'll square this away. And then you can tell she was lying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I remember there was one time where I was like, Lydia, what do you want for supper? And she was a chicken nuggets and French fries kid. She's like, well, I want chicken. And I was like, okay, cool. And I made chicken for her. And then she was pissed. She didn't want chicken. So like supper's ready. And she's like, I'm not eating that. And she forced herself to throw up on my kitchen table. And I was like,
dang.
So I literally like locked myself in the bathroom, called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I don't think I can do it with this kid. She's like, just chill, like hang out in the bathroom, then go back out there. But she's like, you call Brianna and you tell her what she did. So I did. I called Brianna. I was like, I will deliver her tonight, but she's not going home with you because she thinks she's getting out of eating this chicken she asked me for. And Sabrina's like, yep, you just let me know when you're coming home and it's all good. And so like from the very beginning, we've told Lydia we're the same team. Like we're
if you
gonna
get
raise
something
you.
taken away at dad's house, you get it taken away at mom's house too.
Yes.
We don't, it's across the board.
Yeah. She's like, we're the same team. We're just raising you to not be an asshole.
Yep.
We've literally always told her that. You just have to be a good person. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I agree. That's all I want for you. If you don't get perfect grades, if you don't like do everything exactly right, all I want is for you to be a good person, treat people the way that you would want to be treated, and just be a productive member of society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
As I deal with my 14-year-old in court.
I'm currently dealing with my son's disillusionment in the education system, directly related to the degree he got, and the fact that he works in like doing archaeology, like looking at like historical sites and stuff, and there's just no morals in that. Anyone who really loves archaeology ends up like giving up and doing something else because the corporatization has just ruined that industry, and he's just basically like gutted. You can just see like that, where he's gonna have to find like his new thing, his new focus and joy. Like, and I can't do anything except like be there to like listen and stuff. But so what you were saying earlier about how it never really ends. That like it's true. Like you just stay there.
Yeah, he done hit 18 and you gave up on him.
Yeah, you're on your own. Yeah.
See you at Christmas.
Yeah.
They're gonna live next door to each other now.
Yeah. Yep. It's awesome. I'm driving over there later today. I picked up a pre-made meal at Costco so we can like throw that in the oven and have dinner, and I'm gonna work on my RV a little bit.
Yeah. There you go.
It's exciting.
We're big on dinners. We have dinners all the time together. 2 weeks ago we had a grill out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just all the kids running around playing, existing together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If only someone would come and sit in my bed and have dinner with me.
I would totally do it if you're close enough. I just need to like come and park my RV in your driveway, and then like
perfect. Mine's parked in there too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you probably saw, Brianna, that I got news that I have bilateral tears in my hips.
Yep.
And on top of not being able to eat, I have,
right?
Yeah, 2 different tears on both sides. And so I have to have surgery on both hips. And they said I shouldn't be going up and down stairs for about 9 months after surgery.
You live upstairs.
I live on the 4th floor of my house.
Oh, no.
Oh.
So I'm gonna move my room, I think, down to the floor below me because there's no bathroom on my floor. So and I already got a kidney infection from not wanting to go up and down the stairs. So
Ugh.
so I'm probably gonna move down to that floor so that I have a bathroom, and I'll like move all my mini kitchen stuff down there so I don't have to leave the floor.
Good idea.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
idea. That's basically what I did when I had hip surgery for a similar kind of thing. And the weird thing about it is that was at the height of my gastroparesis issues. So like same like wasn't able to eat, and then I went and got surgery, and I just took all my stuff downstairs and just lived downstairs until I was able to do the stairs again. Slept on my mattress on the floor, and
Sadly, my main floor doesn't have a full bathroom, so I can't do it down there. It only has a toilet. So all the other, well, the second floor has 2 bathrooms and the basement has a bathroom, but the main floor and my floor don't. So
yeah. That was true at my house too. It was just a toilet and a sink. That's why I got the shower, the bathing wipes, is so that I could just like, you know.
yeah, Robin, you know I live in a haunted house, right?
Yeah.
Do you know which one is her house? Have
Yeah.
you seen it? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was telling my husband, I was like, you know where she lives, right? And he's like, I've always wanted to go in that house. I was like, on the
Same.
bus. We used to drive by your house on the bus when I was a kid, and I want to be in that house.
Well, come have a tea party with me before my hip surgery so I can go to the main floor.
There we go.
We can have tea with Boris.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to say while we have you on?
Is there anything else you want to know?
Yeah.
You answered all my questions on here. I guess one that I would want to ask, because I think people will want to know, is if they are in a situation that they want to change and they want to make it better and start those conversations with their ex or their ex's new partner, how would you recommend them first starting to engage in that conversation?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, so our conversation when we decided to make the switch was in person, but I feel like sometimes it's like less intimidating to like just text them and do that. But also I find that our conversations a lot of the time, like we're working all the time and running children, so like texting is easier, but there are times when I'm like, I have to call Brianna because I don't know the tone of voice in which she said this.
Right.
Like, is she mad at me or is she just quick typing while she has 10 seconds to do so type of thing? And so I don't know, as intimidating as it is, I feel like if you can have that conversation in person with them and just say, hey, what can I do to make this easier? Because for us, it was communication. It was the scheduling and the getting her where she needs to go type of thing. But there might be something else that's not working in your co-parenting relationship that's making it to be toxic, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, and there was a lot of like understanding too of this is my schedule and it's not as lenient as yours. Somebody is going to be doing more work than somebody else. And that was like understood. I think also we had a conversation at one point and you straight out told me, I'm not trying to take your spot. And I think hearing that as a biological mom was big, even though I already knew that about her, but like her actually saying it of, I don't want to step on your toes. I just want to coexist with you in raising this child was big mentally, I think too.
And saying out loud, I just want to be on your team. Like, I just want what's best for this kid. And I want to do whatever I can to assist in that, I guess.
And always keep it positive.
Definitely. Do you have... Yeah. Once it goes negative, it's hard to get back to that positivity. What would you say if someone's ex didn't have a new partner and they wanted to start that conversation? I know this isn't your situation, but if you have any insight on if they don't have a partner, how they can set up that relationship post breakup, post divorce to be positive and move in that direction for the kid?
There's a lot of forgiving for things that they might not be sorry about. is a big one, because you really do have to get yourself there mentally. Know that that relationship is over, it's sailed, but you still have to be positive and move in a positive direction. And if you're always hanging on to past hurt that's been in that relationship, you know, it's never going to go positive. So you do have to do a lot of like self-reflection in that too.
And like separating your feelings from what is best for your child.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I can be hurt, but I still need to do what's best for, I mean, you did it with Lydia.
Yeah.
You said, I have to separate. I'm still angry, but I need to do what's best for Lydia because this isn't working.
Right.
I saw some videos on TikTok, I think like yesterday, of somebody complaining about their ex and like not having enough time with their child. And I feel like, and I had a conversation with them because I knew them in virtual life. But I was like, hey, I bet your ex feels the exact same way you do. And if you were to talk and say, hey, I know neither of us have enough time with our child because neither of us are there 100% of the time, what can we do to kind of make it more cohesive for our time with the child so we feel more included or involved, even if we're not there? And they ended up asking their ex if they could like have a FaceTime at night before they go to bed and read a bedtime story or something like that, just to kind of include it. And the ex was all about it. Like, can I do that too? And I'm like, you just need to communicate it. And then you can both get that out and both feel a little better because it's about the kid.
That's always been our thing. You can call your mom whenever you want.
Yep.
Like my phone, you know how to get into it. You know how to call your mom. Like, just grab it and do it if you want to do it.
That, and because she's a daddy's girl, I made it so that if Justin needed to come over and tuck her into bed on a night that she's in my home, he absolutely can do so. Mm-hmm. My door is always open. If she needs you over in her area in my home, always welcome to come over and be that, you know, because it's not my time.
Yeah.
Not his time. Yep.
Yeah, and like Lydia's kind of a people pleaser, just like her father.
It's bad.
It's bad. So she won't tell us sometimes, like, I really want to go to mom's house, or I really want to stay here another night, or whatever. So sometimes it's like, hey, Lydia doesn't know what she wants to do. Do you want to go for supper? Like,
yep.
We'll meet you at El Rancho at 6.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
And they just know. They're like, oh, you haven't came in with Brianna in a while. And I was like, yes, we do have lives outside of each other sometimes.
By the end of it, it's who do you want to go home with? And then she'll be upfront about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. And
then be like, actually, I think mind. Mm-hmm. She's a preteen. That's how it goes.
Yes.
They don't even know what they want. I don't even know what I want most of the time. So,
but it's so much easier now that she has a phone because she'll just like, I mean, it's easier.
It's easier and harder at the same time.
Right. Like we're learning Lydia's not a good communicator. So she'll be like, Robin, can I come to your house tonight? Yeah, no problem. Mom, Robin said I'm going to her house tonight. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa.
Like 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I was like, no. Because Brianna texted me, it sounds like you guys decided that. And I was like, no, we didn't decide anything. Like, I'm just at work, like responding to her. I don't know what's happening. I'm in trouble. I didn't do it. Like, but learning like to also communicate on top of Lydia communicating is.
We have to follow up.
Yeah. I learned that with all the kids.
Yes. Well, because she'll make up something. Well, Robin wanted me to help her with something. And I'm like, but did you ask me first if we had anything going on before? Not that, just in case, just a overall, hey, did we have any?
Maybe.
Yeah.
She doesn't though. She just like picks where she wants to be and then she's gonna like
she makes it happen.
Robin's
That's definitely a impulsive age.
100%.
So like while it's nice that she can just call her mom when she misses her mom, it's also like she's just making plans and like hoping the rest of us follow up with that
or just okay with it. Like we just will all together agree that that's what Lydia's going to do. Yeah.
You're the boss now.
Sounds like it's going to get fun in the next few years.
Right. And I think it's because we've given her that freedom of where do you want to be, because we're flexible and
because we've done that, she doesn't manipulate us against each other usually. She just doesn't communicate the whole truths all the time. Drives me crazy.
Oh, that's cute.
I mean, they're small problems.
Yeah.
But yeah. It goes
mine do that enough with their friends, let alone like it's not the other parent because we're in different states, but the younger two, like I have 100% custody of them, but now it's the same thing with friends, so it's like
just an age thing then.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it started probably around 9 is when like that behavior kind of started with all of them.
Yep.
And then never stopped.
No.
Great. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Teenage years. Yay.
Yeah. The 14-year-old needs to just hurry up.
Man, that was a rough.
I feel that we'll be there too.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like the only point in time where I was like, I love my son, but not really liking him right now. Just it was about like a 2-year thing where I was just like, found him very tiresome.
And they learn the language that like hurts you. And so like he loves using the word abusive lately. And I'm like, I'm so glad you don't know what that means, because like he flat out in front of, who was it? It was a social worker, said, yeah, I called you abusive because you make me go and get your cell phone charger like 2 floors down. And I'm like, that's not abusive. And he's like, yeah, and you're sarcastic. And I'm like, that's not abuse.
Oh my
if that's how you're being abused, you poor thing.
Yeah.
I know. The horror.
Well, it's horrible. And then he's like, oh, she took away my phone. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not using it right.
I know my mom said, she's like, there were some years that I definitely gave you the finger behind your back. And I was like, well, fair enough.
We had it coming.
Pretty sure I've done that a couple times.
My mom's favorite is to sit there and be like, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
And I just smell and laugh.
My husband says the same thing. He's like, I love watching you argue with Lydia. It's cathartic because you're literally arguing with yourself. And I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
That's why it's so hard.
Yeah.
Justin and Lydia will both look at me and they have like the same facial expression. And I was like, I want to slap both of you. Like, stop. You're the worst. They're like this little gang that just team up on me all the time.
Yeah.
We're having a great time.
Yeah. We're surviving.
Not thriving, but we're getting there.
Yeah, you have to laugh about the hard times too. So, and it's okay to still have challenges and hard times, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's what I'm trying to teach the kids now, because they feel like they have to be perfect all the time, or else the second I mention anything bad, all the good stuff goes away. And I'm like, this isn't the time for me to congratulate you on all the good things right now. Like, we're going to talk about these bad things. It doesn't make that go away.
Yeah. There's no growth or progression or forward momentum without like making mistakes, without the bad things. Basically, it's like there's a level of bonding that you have when you navigate an argument with somebody or have a misunderstanding, and can communicate through it. So yeah, I tried really hard to raise my son to not see like the negatives as an actual negative, but literally just a thing to like deal with and respond to and work through.
I think that because I took things so literally growing up, that anytime someone mentioned anything negative or that I could do differently, it was, I'm not doing anything right. And I think that's how the kids are now too, but trying to figure it out. But I realized that a lot of the things that I was taking seriously from people telling me that I was doing things wrong was things that I was doing differently from how they would want me to do them, not necessarily wrong. And going through a lot of my therapy and stuff and learning that with the kids too, and trying to figure out what they are doing differently that isn't necessarily wrong or doing wrong. So
yeah.
And that's, sometimes there's a fine line between the two.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the good thing about our dynamic too, is I can be so dead set in my way of thinking on something or my opinion on something, and both Justin and Robin can be like, okay, but what if we look at it like this? And then it's like, okay, well, that also makes perfectly good sense. And then we can meet in the middle usually on those things, because I'm very opinionated and I'm very, this is how I want it and why I want it. And then they're like, okay, but maybe there's a different way to do that that makes more sense. And I'm completely open to it. There have only been like a very few things where I'm like, nope. But normally
we can usually find some common ground.
We can find common ground, yes.
Yeah, and it's okay to have those things that you don't want to budge on too, and respecting them for each other and realizing, okay, they do bend to a lot of things and this must be really important to that person is pretty big. Let me see. I think that was all my questions. So we went over
communication. That's the moral of the story.
And pick your battles.
I feel like in a lot of my communities, that's like the number one thing, like the polyamory community and parenting and and just having friends. It's communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And figuring out how the other person communicates and receives communication, because sometimes you can talk at somebody and they heard 0 words you said and they needed a different way. And so coming to somebody where they're at, with their love languages, with their way of communicating, with their way of learning, and making it important.
Yeah, and learning because like don't rely on assumptions, because what something means to me may not mean the same to you. And so like having a clarifying conversation after making a statement can like help bridge that. And then eventually you kind of build a shared language through that. And it's such a bummer that we live in a culture where communication, especially direct, clear communication, is not the norm and it actually makes people uncomfortable, because we would just have a lot less drama, like if people just kind of said what they meant and what they intended.
And back to the beginning of what you said, Lee, in the very beginning of our conversation, is setting the ego aside and actually hearing what the other person is saying instead of already having a mindset of their intentions.
Yeah.
Because it's usually not malicious what they're coming to you with.
Yeah.
I feel like I overanalyze myself sometimes, and I'm like, I don't want to be annoying, but I feel like I have to text Brianna again. But if I can say, like, this is what I'm thinking and this is why I'm thinking it, because I have this going on, that like, and like if everybody's just on the same page, she's like, oh, she can't do this because she works till this time. And like figuring it out that way is so helpful. Like Brianna doesn't need my life story most of the time, but if I can explain like this is why I'm feeling like this might work better, it just gets everybody on the same page. To like,
and it doesn't sound so much like you're just saying, I want it this way because I want it this way. It's here's what's going on and this is why I need this. I think that is important. And if you feel like you need that as well for yourself when communicating, that is important. I know with Lee and I, communication is huge, and both of us are direct and also accept what each other says really well. And I think that's how we ended up becoming friends.
Yeah. And I'm very much like I do like to explain myself. So I will use a lot of words to get the point across, but it's because I want the other person to be able to see the person behind the words. And because I can be so direct, I think I learned that as a defense mechanism to explain myself, because if I just say the exact thing I'm thinking, it can be very abrasive to a person that, communicates in the average way of communicating, that being the tism. But so I do try to do that. And I like it when other people do that as well, because it helps everything make more sense for me.
Yep.
Agreed. All right. Do we want to do a random fact about ourselves before we sign off?
As long as I don't go first.
Okay. I can go first, but I don't know what I'm going to say yet. I don't know. It just popped in my head. Let's see. I can do a tongue trick.
What does that mean? Oh, that's weird.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's mine.
It
Only
showed
you
it on the
video.
little. Yeah, it showed it on the little screen, so it'll be hard to now that you're highlight. There you go.
I'm not that exciting.
You have to have something weird.
It's a random fact. I'm trying to think of a fact for you. I didn't even think of a fact for myself.
I was thinking of one for you.
Okay, why don't you do that? Do one about each other.
Yeah.
You're going back to school. You're going to be a doula or
midwife assistant.
There you go.
Ooh,
Awesome.
That's exciting.
I'm also going back to school.
She is.
Not a good time. I'm going back for special ed.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that for both of you.
We communicated that before we all decided, because obviously in our co-parenting relationship we're gonna have to be like very flexible. Yes. So before we did all of this, we communicated. It wasn't like I need to have your school. Yeah, it wasn't. It was like I'm gonna need your support on this. You're gonna need my support on this. This is something very important. You know.
Do we think we can do this? Is one of the things you said.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
A lot of kids, a lot of school, but
we'll do it.
We'll do it. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And the other thing was like, is it going to better our future?
Right.
And like it is. Yeah. It absolutely is. Yeah. So like I said, when you said, can we do this? I was like, I feel like we have to do this because we have to make our lives better for our kids.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Like when we first started co-parenting, we were all dirt poor. Like
it's so true.
Literally like, I hope you like ramen noodles because that's what we can afford.
Yeah.
And so we just have to keep striving for better. And we were like, that's what we got to do then.
It's so cool to see our lives almost 10 years later than it was in the very beginning. So, yeah.
All right, Lee.
Random fact. Just like there's like I'm like this one maybe or that one maybe or like I don't because it was like each of you made me think of like different things, and of course like my brain goes to like an associated thing. Okay, I'll do like a really weird one. I have like extra bony growth inside my mouth here, and I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I see it.
And it's mine are really small, so every time I go to the dentist they're like, oh, you have, I don't remember what it's called, but they're really small, which is weird because normally the whole bottom will like grow, and then if you need to get like a bone graft or whatever, they can just take it from there. I think it's a bone graft, but it's very odd. It's the only time it bothers me is when they do the x-rays because it fills in that spot, so it pushes right against it, and I'm like, ow. But and it looks weird, so yeah.
Cool,
that is cool.
That is cool. I like your weird body. my
lemon law body.
Oh gosh, we just need to throw in the whole person
right
back into the mix.
Except for my brain. I like my brain a lot.
I like my brain, but I don't like my feelings.
Fair.
I got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's funny. All right. Well, I will do my sign off very awkwardly, like I always do, especially since I can't get to the button to stop the recording either. Oh wait, I could move that. I don't even know where the record button went. Oh, there it is. Okay. I found it, guys.
She found the button.
All right. So this has been another Frightening Frauen with Lee and Tyler and our beautiful guests. And join us next time on Two Crows Podcast.